more. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much more.
It was, he didn't want me to go to the hospital. And my wife was having an emergency cesarean. One of my wife's legs is a little bit shorter than the other, and so her hips wouldn't open to cradle the baby. You know, that, in case you didn't know this, that women have childbearing hips. And they open to cradle the baby. And so because one leg was shorter, her hips weren't opening. And my son was only about 7 months and 1 week and was potentially, I mean, he was dying. He couldn't move, and the cord was, it was a mess. So they said, we're going to have an emergency cesarean tomorrow. And so I was scheduled, and so I ran to work to tell Stanley that I can't come to work. And I wasn't filming that day anyway. They were filming Dorian Harewood, the black guy, getting shot. And so I ran to work to tell him, and Stanley said, well, you can't go to the hospital. I'm gonna need you in an hour. And I said, you're not gonna need me in an hour. And now I'd insulted him because I was telling him how he was directing his film. And he said, look, what do you want to go to the hospital for anyway? He goes, what, are you going to stand in the surgery and watch your wife have a cesarean? He goes, you'll pass out. As soon as they cut her, you'll see the blood, and you'll vomit, you'll fall on the floor. And he goes, let me tell you something about babies. They don't need you anyway. They're not interested in the father for the first year of their life. All they want to do is be fed and have their diapers changed. And I just couldn't believe that he was telling me all this stuff and wasn't going to let me just go to the hospital with my wife while she was having the cesarean. And I had a pocket knife in my pocket, so I took it out and I opened it and I held my hand out and I said, look, man, put the knife into my hand. And I said, I'm going to cut my hand open and I'm going to have to go to the hospital. So it's your choice. Your choice. You can let me go to the hospital, or I cut my hand open and I have to go to the hospital. And he kind of moved away from me without moving. You know, he kind of, yeah, it was like, yeah. And he said, all right, but you come back right away after. And the irony is that I knew that I wasn't going to film that day, and I didn't film for another 5 or 6 days after that. He just wanted me on set. Because he liked having me there. He liked having me on there. I came back immediately after my son was born. I came back and I gave some cigars to people. I gave Stanley a cigar. You know, congratulations. What's his name? I said, Bowman Mark Modine. Bowman? I said, yeah, Bowman Mark Modine. He goes, why'd you call him Bowman? He goes, why don't you give him a normal name? And I said, well, like Stanley? He goes, no, I don't mean like Stanley. Just like, you know, John or Jack or, you know, Peter. And I said, because his name's Bowman, and it was a name that my wife and I thought of 5 years before he was born. And I you know, can somebody challenge you about the name of your...
And all this is in there.
It's all in there.
And it's amazing. Now, about how much time do I have before I'm supposed to open?